In the book, you clear up the long-held misconception about it, the fact that you asked Katharine Hepburn what kind of a tree she was. Of course, you did not. She's the one who brought it up in the first place. Why do you think that that particular question lasted so long?
It began to get repeated and repeated and repeated, and I've said that when I die, my obituary will say, Barbara Walters is the woman who asked people what kind of tree they want to be. I never asked anyone. I said to Hepburn, "You are such a legend." She said, "I'm like an old tree." And I then said, "Well, what kind of a tree?" Why it took on and had a life of its own, I don't know. When I interviewed Hepburn again some years later, and she does very few interviews, I said, people have criticized me for this, and she said, "Really? Don't you wonder what kind of a tree everyone is?" "I do." By the way, she said she was like a great oak tree. So, I've been teased about it. I've been teased about being Bawa-Wawa. I didn't like that so much later until I met Gilda Radner. When she died, I wrote to Gene Wilder, her husband, and I said, "She made me laugh. I will miss her." And I signed it Bawa-Wawa.
I heard in an interview that if you were giving a young Barbara Walters some advice, you would have told her to stay at NBC. As ugly as things got between you and Harry Reasoner, do you regret making that move?
When I left NBC, where I was very happy and very successful, and took that leap of faith, which turned out to be a disastrous leap, as the first female co-anchor of a network news program, working with Harry Reasoner, a man who had no real resentment against me as a person, but didn't want a partner, didn't want a woman. I was a terrible failure. It was an extremely difficult time, especially because I was supporting my entire family. Now, looking back, am I sorry I did it? No, because I worked my way back, and the specials took over, and they were very successful. What helped me in a way was that I got so many letters from women at that time saying, "Hang in there. If you can make it, if you can do it, if you can survive it, we will too." Because women also were striving in a man's world. And then one day I got this wonderful telegram from a man I had never met. I opened it up and it said, "Don't let the bastards get you down." And it was signed John Wayne.
For all the revelations that you make in this book, the one thing you will not confirm is your age. Why is that?
My age is printed all the time. But I think if I'm allowed one fetish, and I have just said, well, I'm going to fudge it. I don't know why at my age I should really tell it, but I'm allowed one peculiarity, and that's going to be it.
Well, I do know that the Associated Press does put in a man's age as well as a woman's age, but my newspaper colleague Fraser Moore interviewed you, and when he wrote his story, he said that you were 78. Should the AP do a correction?
I am not going to discuss my age. It is my one privilege. It is my one foolishness, and it's dopey. I know it's dopey, and I apologize to the AP, but I'm not going to do it.
You've often ended your interviews by asking, do you have a philosophy of life that sums up your thinking today? And I'm asking you that same question.
It may be a cliche, but I've said it all the time, and I say it to my daughter, and she says it too. This too shall pass.